Working the graveyard shift is an experience like no other. It's quiet, eerie, and often unpredictable. While many night shift workers enjoy the peace and calm, others have been left with spine-chilling stories that could rival any horror movie. From haunted hotels to unexplained screams in the dead of night, the following are real-life experiences shared by those who brave the darkness to keep the world running while the rest of us sleep. A close call with a deadly drop. Imagine working late at night in a high-rise building. You're tired, barely able to stay awake, and eager to finish your tasks and go home. As you head toward the elevator, you notice the door is already open. Feeling relieved that you won't have to wait, you quicken your pace. But as you approach, you realize something is terribly wrong. There's no elevator car waiting. Just an empty shaft plunging down 10 floors. One more step, and this worker could have been the next tragic accident in the building. They quickly pulled back, shaken by the close call that could have ended their life. It's a chilling reminder of how exhaustion can blur your senses in the dead of night. A childlike shadow in the school hallway. Being a night shift custodian in a school is usually a lonely job, but nothing prepares you for the surreal moments that occur when you're the only one in the building. One custodian was locking up a U-shaped wing of classrooms when they saw something that would haunt them for years. After locking one set of doors, they noticed the dark silhouette of what looked like a small child running across the end of the hallway. The problem? They had already locked all the doors, and no one else was supposed to be there. The sight of the shadow, coupled with the eerie silence of the night, sent shivers down their spine. Was it just a trick of the light, or something more supernatural? The custodian quickly locked the remaining doors and made a hasty exit, their mind racing with what they had just seen. Phantom piano music in the church attic. Cleaning a church at night is already unsettling, but hearing music from an attic where no one should be makes it even worse. One night, while cleaning a quiet church, a worker heard the soft, unmistakable notes of a piano coming from above. The problem? The piano in the attic was broken and hadn't been played in years. Convinced someone was trying to prank them, they ventured upstairs to investigate. But when they arrived, there was no one there. The piano stood silently, untouched. The music had stopped, but the eerie feeling of being watched lingered. Alone in the dimly lit church, the worker couldn't shake the sense that something or someone was with them. Whether it was a trick of the mind or a ghostly presence, they never heard the piano again, but were forever haunted by that night. The flying pen in the hotel hallway. Working late shifts at a hotel can be unsettling, especially when strange things start happening in the middle of the night. One employee was delivering invoices to rooms when they encountered something truly bizarre. As they bent down to slide a paper under a door, a pen suddenly flew past their face, hitting the door with a sharp clatter. The strangest part? They didn't carry any pens, and the hallway had been completely silent. Puzzled and a little spooked, they looked around, but there was no one in sight. The thick, heavy doors of the hotel made it impossible for anyone to have snuck up unnoticed. When they asked their coworker about it later, the security cameras offered no clues. The experience left them questioning what had happened and wondering if the hotel had its own supernatural resident. The bowling alley lane that turned itself on. Closing up a bowling alley alone at night is creepy enough. But when the machinery starts acting on its own, it takes things to a whole new level of unsettling. One night, after shutting down all the lanes, a worker noticed that one of the lanes had mysteriously turned itself back on. The only way to activate the lanes was with a switch in the back, and no one else was there. Curious and a little freaked out, they walked toward the back to investigate. Just as they were about to reach the control panel, the lane shut off again, as if someone or something had been playing a prank. With no cameras to capture the event, the worker had no proof of what happened, but the unexplained occurrence left them feeling uneasy every time they had to close the bowling alley from then on. The cadaver exhibit that triggered motion sensors. Hosting a human cadaver exhibit at a museum is bound to create some eerie vibes, but when the alarm system starts going off in the middle of the night, it takes it to another level. The executive director of a science museum was repeatedly called in the dead of night because the motion sensors in the cadaver exhibit kept triggering alarms. Each time, no exterior doors or windows were tripped, meaning no one had entered the museum. Yet, the sensors inside the exhibit hall would go off as if someone were moving through the room. With nothing but a flashlight for company, the director had to walk through the exhibit alone, surrounded by lifeless bodies posed in various anatomical displays. Although they never found anything, the idea of wandering among cadavers in the pitch-black hours of the night is enough to give anyone nightmares. The haunting ambulance on Thanksgiving night. Working on an ambulance at night often brings workers face to face with death, but sometimes it feels like death lingers long after the call is over. One paramedic shared a story about Thanksgiving 2016 when they responded to a heartbreaking call. A man, recently diagnosed with cancer, took his own life to avoid burdening his family. After the call was finished and they returned to the station, something strange happened. The electronics in the ambulance went haywire. The radio switched stations on its own, lights flickered, and the dashboard seemed to come alive. The paramedics bolted from the ambulance, only to find that the key was still in the on position. While they may have written it off as a malfunction, the timing and intensity of the event left them feeling as though something otherworldly had joined them on their ride back. The shadowy figure on a busy street. Night shift workers often rely on the peacefulness of the night to get through their shift, but when something breaks that peace, it can be unnerving. One overnight baker, sitting outside for a brief break, witnessed something they would never forget. Across the street, they saw a shadowy figure walking toward them. Despite being in a well-lit area, the figure remained completely shrouded in darkness, with no distinguishable features. Even as it passed under streetlights, its appearance didn't change. Feeling a sense of dread, the worker hurried back inside, but when they looked again, the figure had vanished. For the next 10 minutes, they waited for someone to walk past, but no one ever did. To this day, they can't explain what they saw or why it filled them with such fear. The scream that echoed in the grocery store. Working in a grocery store at 3 a.m. can feel isolating, but for one worker, isolation turned to fear when they heard a blood-curdling scream echo through the store. The scream sounded like a woman in labor, clear and loud, but the worker was alone. Shaken, they called their boss, who instructed them to check the rooms upstairs. Reluctantly, the worker complied, but when they reached the rooms, they found them completely empty. The unsettling experience didn't end there. As they returned downstairs, they heard a loud thud, like something heavy had fallen. The source of the noise was never discovered, and the worker left that night with more questions than answers. This experience left them wondering if they had encountered something paranormal, or if their mind was playing tricks on them in the eerie silence of the night. That's all for today's video. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more content just like this. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload, especially if you love hearing about the creepiest, most unsettling real-life tales. And if you've got your own graveyard shift horror stories, drop them in the comments below. We'd love to hear them.